Hello there. Welcome. Star Walking. It's our live stream. It's our monthly live stream. What we're going to be doing is talking about troopers. Not straight off. Straight off first, let's welcome Troy. How are you, Troy?
Not bad, Deb. Yourself?
I am fan bloody tastic. Oh, no, probably shouldn't use language like that. I am doing awesome. I'm having a great Sunday afternoon, doing nothing. It's cooled off. It's not so hot anymore. Loving
Yeah,
it. Had a
yeah.
great time out on the weekend, went to an all-you-can-eat place.
Oh,
That's
nice,
fun. Because,
nice.
we used to have Sizzler, right?
Yeah.
Mediocre, all-you-can-eat, made you sick, that kind of stuff, except for the bread.
The,
That was
and the potato skins.
oh, yeah, okay, yeah, all right, I'll accept that. And you could get as much ice cream as you wanted, the soft serve stuff, as much as you wanted with all the sprinkles. Like, I love that. I really like that about Sizzler. However, you gotta say, it was kind of low-class food. It's not somewhere you would take someone on a date.
What are you saying about us Westie people? Hmm?
It's a little boganish. And yeah, so Matt said, "Hi, Matt. Welcome, Matt. I miss all you can eat places." I know, right? Well, because there were places that were worse than those. There was some, I guess, and welcome, Noddy. There was places that were all you can eat Chinese food, but you'd always not feel the best afterwards. But and then so Sizzler was maybe a cut above those, and because I remember
Oh,
at those
yeah.
places you'd get jelly, and the jelly would come in cubes, and it never felt like or tasted like real jelly. It was just really weird. And anyway, I digress. The reason why I was talking about that is I went to an all you can eat place on Friday night, but it was not like that. It was the Brazilian one in Darling Harbour. So all of
Okay.
the meat is like smoked and they bring it on a skewer and they slice it at the table and they say, "Would you like a piece of pork? Would you like a piece of steak? Here is some flank.
Oh,
Here is some
no.
steak with cheese." And you just eat as much as you want. It is fantastic, but it's expensive. But yes. Oh yeah,
That,
Matt says I remember Pizza Hut restaurants and smoggies, sodium overload. That's the downside. They're full of salt.
yeah, you have all
Yes.
the salt, and then you have all the sugar with
Yes. And
the soft serve ice cream. I
yes.
remember putting it with the mousse, the chocolate mousse, and I would just pile it on. But yeah, I love jelly, but not that jelly. That was
No.
too much gelatin in that jelly.
Yeah, it was like you could build like Lego with it. It was just really, really weird.
Definitely.
Something wrong with it. Welcome, Jason. Yes, Brazilian barbecue. So we went to Brazico, I think it's called, yeah, in Darling Harbour. And my favorite was the flank, and they also did what's that? Halloumi cheese was really good, and their
Ooh.
garlic prawns. So nice. Welcome, Michael. We are meant to be talking Star Wars, but right now, maybe because I'm hungry, I don't know. But we were just talking about all you can eat places. Join in.
Oh, I went out Friday night myself with
Yep.
friends, just from work, after work drinks. We do it once a month. I can't say I did too much this weekend, but I do have something to show you. Do you mind if I show you? It's
Go
all
for it.
PG rated.
What?
Um,
So everyone
I'll
cover
just
your eyes.
I'll just see if I can flip my camera. If not, I'll just move the camera around. Actually, I'm going to
Um,
do it this way. Oh,
oh man, that looks awesome. That that's very nice. Very clean. Nice
uh,
lines. It's like a
yeah.
car you'd want to buy.
Well, they have got. I did see on the internet some people said it wasn't like made dirty enough, but to be honest, I'm looking at it and there's enough, scratch marks and all that. Like the Millennium Falcon, probably not as bad.
Make
Well,
your
it
own
shouldn't be,
then.
and it shouldn't be
Damage
as
it.
bad as the Millennium Falcon.
I think if they're going to sell something like that and you have a preference for how much you want it damaged, then damage it yourself. Don't.
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
I don't want one that looks trashed.
No, no, no. So, for example, it's like if you
Jason says it's bigger than you, Troy.
Jason,
Wow.
you should have seen the box next to me. I could rest my arm on it like that.
Jeez.
Like I've dealt with the sail barge. And that's a long box, but this box, it took the cake.
So,
Absolutely.
question. Any regrets? Oh, so it's a dumb question? Sorry.
I was going to say
Well,
never regrets with me when it comes to Star Wars. Uh, I can always like when I bought the E-wing, it could have been a bit more, not as clean. But you know what? I still love it. Uh,
again, Again, you can scratch it up, dirty it up yourself. There are techniques, and if you don't know them, Google them. Other people use them all the time. Like all the cosplayers, they use all these different techniques to make their costumes look more worn. It'd be the same with your
exactly,
ships and things.
exactly. Imagine if they
Oh,
scuffed it up too much, and someone goes, "Oh, it's too dirty now."
well, you know what? It's yours. You can have it as much as dirt as you want. And Jason
Exactly.
said maybe you might have some regrets on your bank account.
That's probably why I'm single.
No one to question. And welcome,
No.
Paul. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah. So my regrets is me, myself, and I. So
Yep.
it's yeah, but you know what? It's something I love, and I have to enjoy something.
I
Everybody
love
has to have a hobby. Doesn't matter what it is, and this is my hobby and my love for
no one is no one is questioning you, but just for a second it almost sounded sad.
hello
Everyone
naughty.
everyone's gonna have something. Yes, that's why we're all here. We all love Star Wars. Let's get into
Exactly.
it. What do we got? We are going to talk about, and where is our screen? Dun, 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 it's March, first Sunday of the month. So let's talk troopers. Clone troopers versus stormtroopers. By the end of, and Noddy says he knows the feeling having your hobby as your love. And I think we all do. I I don't know anyone who has less passion than any of us. Exactly, Jason. Glad you love it. People spend money on all kinds of stuff. It's the love.
It is. It is the
Yeah.
love. Definitely.
I would rather have amazing, awesome things around my house that I appreciate and really love that I can look at than whatever other people do with all their money. I don't know what they do. What do other people do? Some people go on holidays. I want to do both though.
Yeah.
I want to earn enough that I can go on holidays and spend a ridiculous amount of money on Star Wars stuff. Oh, Matt's already given us a spin on how we should just end it here and we're done now. Matt says stormtroopers can't shoot and the clones look cooler. Sorry. Okay. Argument done. I think I lost. So what's going to
Ding
happen
ding
is,
ding.
and Jason says phase two love, TK love, first order yuck. Yeah, we're not going to do first order. We decided no. But what we're going to do is we're going to run through a little bit of information, which is not because we all love Star Wars. That's why you guys are here. It's not going to be anything really new to you, but just an opportunity to talk about what each of our own opinions are, what we like and what we don't like. And so we're going to run through what are the differences. And then Troy's going to try and convince me that you're all right and I'm wrong. And I apparently, because I drew the short straw, have to argue that stormtroopers are better. And I will do my darndest, but I've just realized I've lost my piece of paper that has the argument on it. So good luck to me.
Sure, sure, sure.
I'm going to win this. I can. Matt says first order troops look like Nikes. What, Nikes? As in a pair of Nikes?
No, Nike shoes.
I like Nike shoes. They do look a bit like that. Hmm.
Yeah, but I like Nike shoes. I don't like first sort of troop.
Yeah. Don't make me feel bad about wearing Nikes.
Mm.
I really like my Nikes. Oh, everyone's going, yeah, Nikes. Oh, no. I really like my Nikes. In fact, I'm wearing Nikes now, but they don't look like stormtroopers. They're basketball shoes. All right, let's. So I said we weren't going to talk about the first order, but they're there in that picture. So sorry, we started off that. Jason says Reebok baby. Good point. Matthew says, to be fair, I like the red Sith troopers though. Yeah, fair enough. You can like them. We're not going to talk about them though. I'm curious though, what shoes? Maybe that's something we should talk about is what shoes look mostly like stormtroopers. I have a pair of Adidas or Adidas, as I like to call them, and they really look like stormtrooper shoes. They're my favorite. Right, we know. We went from phase 1 to phase 2 troopers. Then we've gone to stormtroopers, and then let's not talk about first order troopers. They're blah 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 by the side. So we know that there's an evolution. We go from one to the other, but we go from one to the other, but we didn't see them in that order, as we know, because it's Star Wars movies. We saw them in a different order. So the first stormtroopers that we see, and this is what I'm curious about, is I'm going to make the assumption that most people who are watching and joining us, or watching later or joining us right now, saw Star Wars first, or at least one of the original trilogy before the prequels. So my question is, if you only saw the Troopers first, what are your thoughts? Did you see them? Were you in awe of them? Oh my gosh, these guys look amazing. They have, this really tidy armor. Never seen anything like this before. They've got at this point they're actually able to shoot. Don't know how that happened. And yeah, well, the rebels, a lot of them fell to the floor, so they shot some people.
Well,
Whether it's
yeah,
sick of shame,
and
I don't know.
I think they were going well until they couldn't hit two droids going across a corridor.
Right, stop. They maybe that was okay. So I think that the stormtroopers of the original trilogy era were and are, I guess, racist is the closest word I can come to it, because they're human, as we know, that they only had, from humans, there was no other species that became stormtroopers. And I think it's like misogyny, like you don't like women, but it was droidogyny, whatever the word is for that. I'm going to make that one up. A new word is droidogyny. Okay. So they saw droids as a lesser creature and therefore not even worth a bullet. That is why, like, for example, when they're like, here's another one shooting off from the ship, they're escape pod, it's got no life forms. It may have had droids on it, but they're a lesser life form, so it doesn't even matter because they don't count. That's why they didn't shoot them.
Mm.
Are you
And
buying my
also,
argument?
yeah, no, it's not really. But
Nah.
anyway, also with stormtroopers is that and like the Empire, they're anti-alien. If you're not
Yes.
human, as you said, droids are lesser. They thought everybody
Yes.
else was lesser of any other race as well.
Yes. Yes.
And
Which is what
we know there
that's.
was only one exception to the rule: someone with red eyes and blue skin.
Oh, Thrawn. Okay. Yes. Yes, because he was in the Empire. Yeah, they accepted him, but that was because of his ability with tactics, etc.
That's
But
right.
Noddy says droids don't shoot back, humans shoot back. So there's no point shooting a droid because it didn't have a gun. It wasn't going to cause you any trouble. That's why they didn't shoot them. There we go. Look, sir, droids. Yes. Jason says there's a YouTube video where they get eye optics and they kill all the rebels. Oh, okay. All right. But
Mm.
they did at this point. My point was this. The first time we see stormtroopers is right near the beginning of the first A New Hope movie, the first Star Wars. We see them in the first few minutes. The ship goes over, ship gets sucked up. Next thing you know, we see these creatures in white. What were your first thoughts? Were you Did you see it as a child? Were you scared? Were you in awe? Were you like, wow, they look amazing, they're great? Or did Darth Vader throw off that scene and you didn't care about the stormtroopers anymore? Where was everyone at this point?
Well, I saw the movies, well, probably on TV, except for Return of the Jedi. I saw that at the drive-ins. But when I saw Stormtroopers, I think I thought they were droids for a little while there. But when, as you said,
You were a
when
kid.
Vader, yeah, when I was a kid, when the Vader came on the scene, you're right. It was like, oh yeah, Stormtroopers. Okay, now we've got this big guy in black breathing heavily. Yeah, he's the all cameras on him now.
Mm,
So yeah, it's stormtroopers. Yeah, they looked menacing. They looked mysterious because you don't see a face.
yeah.
You know, where you see the rebels and you see their face, They
And
see
you
their
see,
pain and,
yes,
expression of, oh my God, we're going to die.
yep,
So,
yeah,
you know, unless they start moving, and then they probably wouldn't get shot. Um,
that's funny. We've got some comments. So Dave says, I thought stormtroopers were robots. See, originally, same with you. Although I was probably 10 or 12. Yeah, well, yeah. Matt says, I saw it in the 1990s at cinema and they thought they were just regular baddies, nothing too interesting. Yeah, fair enough. And also, Matt made a comment and said that he's not seen Star Wars. He's just here because he's lonely. We love you, Matt. We love that you join us. You should watch it though. I know you have. Okay, Jason says, I wanted to be one. Oh, look, I am. I wanted the figures. Then Vader merges and I wanted him as well. Okay. Matt says he thought Vader was the head stormtrooper. Yeah, because that's how I thought too. I saw that. Matt says he's just joking. We know. Um, the I think that's kind of where I looked at it as well. Is that he was that, like we're all in white, but our boss wears black because then we can distinguish who's the boss. That's kind of how I looked at it as well. That he was also a stormtrooper. That he had the same armor, would have the same abilities that they have, or lack of.
yeah, well, when you look further on, then they do have black stormtroopers, and they are more superior than
True.
the white ones. So they did go
This
down
is
that
true.
road later on.
Okay, what did I do next? Then I said, what was your understanding of their purpose? We've already started talking about that because there were stacks of them. However, this image is the redone one because when Han first goes around that corner in the original movies, he doesn't see that many troopers, and I didn't even realize there was dudes in black lined up on a shelf at the background there. I don't know if you can see that on everyone's small screen, but if I put my mouse up, there's like people here and there's these guys over here aren't even looking at Han. And they're all in the TIE fighter bay, which I find really odd. Anyway, why they're all just standing there. But we know that there's lots of them. That's what we have with stormtroopers. Let's go forward. We've got. So then we also know that we go, yeah, look, so droids, they go to Tatooine and they have a different kind of outfits, a little bit different to the normal grunts that you see on the ship because they're suited to being in the sand. The original trilogy goes on further, and we know that there is also snow troopers who are adjusted to the climate of Hoth. How and why they already had these suits, I don't know. Clearly they planned ahead. I don't know, but I just think it's bizarre. We would have thought that would have been there in normal stormtrooper costumes, freezing to death, but nope, they thought ahead and they have snow ones as well. And then you've got the scout ones. My understanding about the scout troopers is they don't shoot as well. They even shoot even worse than the stormtroopers do. Do you agree? They've got worse aim.
Well, he shot Leah ducked. He shot again and hit the back of the speeder bike. I think that's more than stormtroopers have ever done.
No, they've shot things and hit things.
I'm sorry, I can't help myself with this.
That's fine. They have hit things, and if
Yeah.
you remember, Obi-Wan said that only stormtroopers are so precise.
Mm.
They said the reason why they didn't, and fine, we'll have this argument now. So what we know that they let them go from the Death Star. We know that the shots weren't deliberate. They needed to let them leave because they wanted the tracking device on them. So
Mm.
some of those shots, which we would have thought they would have made, they didn't because that was the instructions that they'd been given, right? But my understanding is that Scout Troopers are terrible. And so my theory, this is my fan theory, is that Scout Troopers got sent to Endor to be the Scout Troopers because they're the ones who just really like riding bikes and aren't very good at shooting. And it was only going to be to make sure that the Ewoks aren't annoying them at the bunker. Therefore, we'll just send all the really terrible troopers to become Scout Troopers. That's my argument.
Okay, so what I know about scout troopers is they are more likely armored because of scouting ahead, so they're faster on their feet. They've got the speed bikes, so they're faster once again because they have to reconnaissance out, have to get back before they are, you know, shot down by the enemy or
Are they
anything like
more
that.
Are they then therefore more expendable because you send the ones that you don't care about risking ahead?
I reckon they're probably a bit more stealthier than the usual stormtrooper.
Are they
So,
though from Return of the Jedi? Is that what you remember? Were they stealthy?
well, when it comes up against the Ewoks, no, the Ewoks are the most stealthiest around. Um,
How do we
but
turn this?
yeah,
I'm now arguing the opposite.
well, we're not going against clone troopers at the moment. We're just talking about
No, not yet.
stormtroopers in general. So, but that's the theory of and I'm happy for other people in the chat to voice their opinion. But that's my knowledge of my thoughts of scout troopers.
They've voiced some opinions, but they're on different things. So Jason says they are foot soldiers like Germans in World War II. If you look at the officers and soldiers, even the pilots are based on World War II. Yes, you're right.
Yep.
Stormtroopers are foot soldiers. That is their general purpose. And I don't know if I go into this later, but my thoughts are along the lines of the or maybe I wrote it in my notes. So the concept is that all of the stormtroopers are trained to be a foot soldier, and that's why you then have the opportunity to, and this is part of my argument why stormtrooping is better than clone troopers, because clone troopers are trained in everything. They can become pilots, they can become a navy officer, they can play any role whatsoever because their training is so wide and vast. I know that sounds great for clone troopers, and it sounds as though I'm arguing against myself, but my point is that whilst the clones have all of those skills inbuilt, stormtroopers do not. They have one set role. They need to be the foot person, and they need to do it really, really well. And then, if you want to, and if you have certain skills, you can then advance and become a particular kind of trooper. For example, you might become the scout trooper because you have that set. And that means that you have a hierarchy then of skills, which in my opinion is positive because it encourages people to further develop their skills, not just, oh, well, I know all this stuff. This is just what I do. I generally know bits of everything. This becomes specialized, and specialized means that you become an expert. And so, what the stormtrooper concept, the way that it's set up, the military leaves room for experts. That's my argument.
We'll get into it further down the track.
So we've got some more comments. Jason says Snowy's his favorite because that was going to be my next question. What is your
Mm.
favorite kind of trooper? Matt says, are the Emperor's guards from the stormtroopers? They seem more capable. I believe they are, which is again specialized troopers. So they were selected to protect the Emperor because they had the best skills. Dave says Ewoks are highly dangerous, laughing. And Jason says, like an officer. Oh, and agrees. Yes. So there's this specialized kind of concept. This exists.
I have to
So
agree.
if you
Snowtroopers are my favourite too.
right, so you'd be a snow trooper. If you could be, what would you be? You'd be a snow
Oh, I
trooper.
wouldn't want to be a snowtrooper, but I love their design.
Okay, if you had to be one, what would you be?
Oh,
Would you just be a general trooper so you could go wherever, or a specialized? Welcome, David. We're talking about stormtroopers and the idea
good
that
question.
there are general stormtroopers and then specialized stormtroopers. For example, we have the snow troopers, we have scout troopers, pardon me, and then there are, I guess, I was going to say dark troopers. Does that fall under that? So, is there a particular type that you would do if you were to be a trooper? What would you want to be? I
A
want to be an
short,
Emperor's Guard.
a short trooper,
Short
because
trooper.
then you're on the
You,
beach, relaxing, hanging in the sun, and all that, and just shoot a seagull when it goes past.
you want to shoot? All I had from that was you want to shoot seagulls.
Well, they go steal my chips. Yes.
Right. Jason would be a Death Trooper or a Snow Trooper or snow. Oh, Death Trooper. You're answering what I was saying. Yeah. So Death Trooper is one of the options. I am inclined to think I would be a Snow Trooper because I really like the cold. A Vacation Trooper.
That's why I said short trooper. I think it was the closest thing to a vacation.
Yeah, I don't want to be a trooper. Okay. And there are people in the world who do. That's their thing, and good luck to them. But it's not something I'm interested in. I don't want to be in military. That's not my. I can't do it. I think I'm too. My brain works too differently. I can't conform. So there are some specialists or some special certain information you might not know. Here's one I found out this week, which is the guy who is TD110 or 110, I don't know, what is it, 110? Yeah. So TD110 Stormtrooper is the guy who stopped Obi-Wan and Luke and asked them, you know, yeah, these are droids you're looking for, that kind of thing, right? Move along. Who had the, I guess, who was easily tricked by Obi-Wan. He then went on after that happened and he let them go. He then was also assigned to go guard the Millennium Falcon, but they arrived after the Falcon had already left. And then after that, his next job was on the Death Star, and he was the stormtrooper who hit his head when he entered the room. You know how infamously one of them. So the information that I have is for canon, TD110 is the same person who spoke to Obi-Wan and Luke on Tatooine and is the one who hit his head on the Death Star. There you go. Fun fact. However,
So, so my theory, I reckon
however,
Obi-Wan's mind trick scrambled his brain, and that's why then he hit his head on the door.
maybe, maybe. And he didn't die on the Death Star because he
Oh,
left and he joined the First Order and he died later on. So this guy, according to canon, went on to do a whole lot of things that were interesting. However, the actor who played TD110, who spoke to Obi-Wan, is named, and I can't remember off the top of my head what his name is, but it's not the same actor who hit his head. So it actually isn't the same person inside, but the character, TD110, is the same character. Oh,
right.
Gavin joined us. Welcome, Gavin. I didn't think you were going to be able to join us. Well done. Jason says that he thinks he got demoted. Yeah, I think
Yep.
getting put on the Death Star was a demotion.
Oh, definitely. Well, he had
Because
the
he's got
epilepsy.
the epaulette, yeah.
Yeah. And the next thing he's behind the lead stormtrooper when he whacks his head. So
Mhm.
I totally agree there. He definitely got demoted. And then after hitting his head, they just went, get into a shuttle and get lost.
Yeah. You're a disgrace. You're an embarrassment.
Yeah. Only the best stay on the Death Star. Well, wasn't he lucky?
Exactly. Dodged a big bullet or a big explosion. Yes. The other fun fact that I learnt during the week was this one. And this one is not a fact as such. Well, it is, but it isn't. So you can see Tarkin, and this is TK421. So you remember TK421 is the one who was to guard the Millennium Falcon and one stood out the front, and they've gone, TK421, why aren't you at your post? So according to, from a certain point of view, one of the books that's come out in the last couple of years, they have short stories, and one is from a mouse droid's perspective. And the mouse droid was TK421's responsibility. And so they had a relationship sounds terrible. They had yeah, I was going to go connection. That's the kind of same thing. But anyway, it was TK421's job to look after the mouse droid. And he would send him to do stuff. But along the way, an officer, they don't actually say Tarkin in the book. So it doesn't actually specifically say that it's him. But people have read it, considered it, the kind of things that the imperial officer says, and the responsibility that the imperial officer has implies that it's Tarkin, but his name doesn't get mentioned. Anyway, so TK421 apparently has then met Tarkin, impressed him, had a relationship with him, and then he is meant to be assigned to his what do you call when you have a hotel and you've got the highest level, the luxury apartment at the top, the penthouse.
Oh, penthouse,
So
yeah.
apparently he's going to be assigned to his penthouse, and that's what his job's going to be. And he's like, yeah, mouse droid, we're going to get out of here. We don't have to do any of these menial jobs anymore. And then he gets given his first job as a security officer, and his job is to mind the Millennium Falcon, and then that's the end of him. Sad story. There you go.
Huh. I feel so more sorry for that poor mouse droid then.
Yes, because then he was like, I have no one to look after me. And so the mouse droid was apparently that's the one that got bumped into Vader and was hanging around all that time because he was allowed to be there because of the relationship of TK421 and this Imperial officer.
Right.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Oh,
Point of
Dave
view.
says a
I like it.
condo. No, it was a penthouse suite. But thank you, Dave.
Hmm.
There you go. Do you know of any
Yeah.
other stories of stormtroopers? Because there's not a lot really. It's interesting that in
Uh,
all of the books, even in the legends books, there isn't a lot of stories about stormtrooper backgrounds. There's a lot of everyone else, but not a lot of the stormtroopers.
I and guys, correct me if I'm wrong. It didn't really start, until we got to the clone troopers. Then we started getting personalities and all that, and then of course, Finn from the First Order. But yeah, stormtroopers. They might be in some of the comics, but not that
Generally, they're just
generally.
then they're unnamed,
They're,
unnumbered.
they're just cannon fodder.
No one's. Yeah.
You
Matt
agree
says,
with me?
I do. I do. I know I meant to argue the point. So we've got a comment. I think the Legends books went into the Royal Guards a lot. Okay, yeah, all right.
Mm,
So maybe
yeah,
some stories with them. And Gavin says, took me a few attempts to get on here. I haven't thought about the troopers. They're not just supposed to be human. Supposedly are aliens as well, even though all troopers look as if they're human. Does this mean that the only races in which humans are allowed to be troopers? Yes. So my understanding is they only want humans. Now
yeah.
the reason why I believe this happens is because humans have a certain psychology that is different to other aliens. So our brains would function in a different way, the way we think, and we are probably the most susceptible to being conditioned and, um, I guess, into a cult kind of concept. We are
Mm,
probably the easiest ones to manipulate, and that is why humans are the ones who become stormtroopers because you want them to think that the emperor is God and that you will do anything for him and anything he says goes. That's what you want, and humans are the most vulnerable to behave in that way. It
yeah.
works with animals, like we don't see them being as maybe dogs, but even dogs get, no, I'm not doing that. Like, we can be the most easily convinced that we should behave in a certain way.
I was going to say we're not going to even talk about cats.
No, see, cats wouldn't do it. Cats are like, I'm not doing that.
No.
Yes.
So yeah, dogs are probably the closest, but not. But as
Yeah.
you said, even dogs will sometimes just go, "No, I'm going to ignore you." So yeah, no, yeah, point. And we know that George Lucas uh, used World War II, the the Nazis as his concept for the empire. So, which we know was very a very
Indoctrined.
yeah, very racist group. So I'm being very diplomatic here. But yes, so yeah, definitely no aliens.
No.
And I don't. And if you look at a Mon Color or a Celestian, their heads are not going to get into those helmets.
Well, the one that I was reading, the TD110, who hit his head,
Mm.
apparently as time got on and he got older, he started to put on weight and it would become and he had a bulbous looking face. I had a big nose and he was a bit chubby looking and he really struggled inside his helmet, which could be why he hit his head as well, because his eyes probably were misplaced in the helmet. I don't know, but yeah. Because you don't see stormtroopers looking different sizes. They're generally the same. Jason says maybe a new series based on Trump. Let's not go there. Gavin says humans in the Star Wars universe are guinea pigs when in the Empire. Yes, pretty much. Very much guinea pigs. Speaking of guinea pigs, how do you grow your own? You grow some clones. So to me, that just reminds me of guinea pigs. If you've ever owned them, they breed, is it ravagely? What's the word? Rapidly. They breed rapidly. You just get lots and lots and lots, and they look very similar to each other, and they just go, maybe like rabbits. Clones, the rabbits of the universe. There's so many of
Wow,
them.
wow, you're hitting below the belt, Deb. Really? Wow.
So, so we are talking stormtroopers versus clone troopers. we know that the clones come from a cloning facility, which is all about genetics and basically test tube babies, I guess, as a sense. And you mess with the genes and you develop the child, and it grows from the embryo, it becomes a little person, and then you have to train it, and then you have to let it grow. But there's also accelerated growth, because otherwise you may as well just grow humans, and it would take you a good 20 years before they're ready to be soldiers. But the Palpatine had other plans in place, as we know. So Matt says, "Hey, Dad, Torn Wee's here." Okay, I don't know what that means. So,
I know. Ton
do you?
Lee, the Camino.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
yeah.
Dad,
Okay, so
Boba Fett, the
right,
Django Fett.
yeah, yeah, right,
I got
okay, yeah, all right, okay, yes, okay. Uh, Jason said clones are made to follow orders. TKs are normal people who question. Yes, sort of. Yes, actually, it's the opposite. That was my original thought, was what Jason said, that clones are made to follow orders, because we know good soldiers follow orders is one of the things that comes out. However, we also know that good soldiers don't follow orders. We see that in the Bad Batch. And we know that stormtroopers follow them to the letter. They don't question. But we will get into, there has been one or two who do and who will defect. So generally, though, stormtroopers do follow orders.
generally, yes. And yes, if we want to get into that now or later, but we'll hold off on that one.
All right. So,
Do you want to go now? I will say that clone troopers at the beginning did follow orders, but it was the Jedi that persuaded them to be individuals
mhm,
and
I don't have
start
a problem with that. I
independent. Which I don't think the Emperor liked that
No,
because
which is why they're
and
gone.
that's right. And then also, as you said, the aging process, and but that's why they became more independent. Uh, am I going against my own argument? Probably, but
Yeah,
in
that's what
saying
it feels
that,
like.
they were trained younger, they were trained far better, they were trained by Jango Fett, and after that, other bounty hunters from the Clone Wars cartoon series. Um, so it's yeah. So yeah, I have to say that they became independent gradually over time.
Yes. No, I don't disagree. So it's something that Matt says they had given the inhibitor chip, so they can't be entirely compliant. So yes, they needed to have the training and such, and the inhibitor chips to control them. It took 9 years from the start of a clone till it was ready to fight. So they, during that time though, and this is one of the arguments that I was going to put forward, is, so we need to educate the hundreds and thousands of them needed to be educated, they needed to be fed, and they needed to grow. And it took 9 years for that to happen. And so one of the problems that, and reason why they needed to get rid of the clones, is that the time that it took to create the clones and grow them to the point where they could fight for the empire took 9 years. Whereas if you took a human and left it with their parents and just indoctrined everyone that being in the Imperial Academy is a great thing. Even Luke really wanted to go to the Imperial Academy. Han went to the Imperial Academy. Lots of people wanted to be there because there was a prestige about the Imperial Academy, right? So people wanted to go to there, but you also couldn't go there until you were old enough. And so you stayed home with your parents, and your parents fed you and let you grow until you were old enough to go to the academy. And that saved the empire that amount of money, because your parents paid for and funded for your life up until you could become indoctrinated into the academy. So financially, it was better to have stormtroopers than clone troopers, because clone troopers, you had to do all this for 9 years, completely fund and look after them until they could become your soldier.
Good point. Good
Thank
point
you.
there. Uh, um, you know, one for Deb. Um,
That's all I got.
yeah, I was going to say anymore. Saying that, it's yes, no, I do agree with that. The But when that 20-year-old boy or 18, 19, 20-year-old young man gets to the academy, they're going to have to train him from scratch.
Yep.
Now, when you get to that age, yeah, you can still be molded a bit, but you've
Yes.
learned a lot of life experiences and from your parents who could be empathetic, who, could be, let's just say you may not have done well at school. Uh, you couldn't hit you couldn't hit a broadside of a barn um, with your, yep, or you can take on 4 foot fuzzy bears. But it's yeah, so yeah. So
Yes. So
in saying that,
in that time that they're with their parents, yes, that means that they are subjected to whatever their parents taught them. Ideally, though, schooling would have been the same across the planets, at least the ones that had. If the emperor had done this well, if he had, I do not know because we don't have this information. If he had done it well, then he would have made sure that the schooling curriculum would have had the same information across the board, similar to what we have in our own countries, where they want us to understand or know certain versions of history or certain things that they want us to learn or do in a certain way. For example, they might be like, you need to do maths this way, you need to write reports this way because they're leading us towards something. So my thoughts would be that the emperor would have had the curriculum in schools in such a way that that would be leading up. But you're right, parents, friends, circumstances, life in general will is what makes you who you are. I am who I am today because of my life experiences, and all of those external those external circumstances will impact upon who I become, and yes, very likely will impact upon whether or not your indoctrination works.
and not saying that you are going to be becoming a stormtrooper or an army trooper because you may not be good enough to be a stormtrooper,
True.
but you might become an accountant instead or a doctor because in saying that the galaxy still needs
Yeah,
the
can't
other
just have
crew
troopers.
of it. I'm sorry, like stormtroopers could be man and woman, but the rest of the population still needs to continue on, and they still need people in those positions. And we can't say only the aliens took those positions because, well, look, people behind bars or politicians or etc. etc. So,
Were there female stormtroopers?
uh, I
Guys, do
thought
you know? Does anyone know? Because I
yeah,
don't know.
I have. Yeah, guys, see if
Noddy, you still
I didn't
here?
want to be
Surely you know
sexist.
that.
I didn't want to be sexist, so
I'm curious now. I don't
Hmm.
know if there is. Jason says like the current armies of today, but conscripted. Yep, exactly. Oh, okay. So yeah, David says Phasma. So Captain Phasma is female, obviously, but she's in the First Order. Is it the First Order became more
They were more whites.
woke?
I just grabbed. Yeah,
Yes, there are fem TKs. Okay.
there we go.
Someone find pictures and send them to me. I want to see them.
Actually, that's where I remember hearing the female voice. That's where was that, guys? Was that in Bad Batch with the TK being the
Mm.
first officers? Was that in Bad Batch where I heard the female voice? Just curious.
PG rated. Yeah, yeah. Only send me PG rated pictures. I want legit ones, not random, not some random chick wearing half of a stormtrooper outfit and half her body showing. That's not what I was looking for. I want
Tip,
legit.
what are you talking about? What pictures are those?
Yeah, can you send me those pictures? Where are these pictures that you
Never,
took
never
of?
seen anything like.
Noni says there was Legends, a full squadron of female TK stormtroopers. Yeah, that's in Legends. I wonder if there's any in canon. I've heard female stormtroopers in Bad Batch. I know there's a female officers. We know that because we see that in,
Mm,
say, Obi-Wan Kenobi. We have Tala, whatever her name is.
yeah.
So we know she's there. Nick says Empire yes, First Order no. Meaning females. Is that what you mean, Nick? And welcome, by the way. Um, yeah. Anyway, back to where we're going with this. Where were we going with this? I don't know.
So we're
So we
saying
know.
about the education system being, I don't think the emperor thought it all the way through, but yeah, conscripted, yes, but
Are you saying the emperor didn't think of everything?
well, he didn't think of Ewok, did he?
True. And he didn't expect Luke.
And he didn't expect Vader to turn on him.
No. Jason says Mara Jade, yeah, but she's legends. Love Mara. Yep. Just curious if there's anything on screen that we've seen. So what I wanted to touch on was when the clone troopers first concept first came out, the idea was that everyone was very similar to, so of course we're looking at, we've the OT has the stormtroopers, and then we were looking at the prequel stuff. So this is what was before then. So they had the similar white armor, and what they did was originally in the first, I think in the first phases, there was color would indicate rank, but then that quickly changed to your
That's right.
color indicates your team kind of concept. And
Yeah.
so I found this image, and I didn't realize there were this many different colors of troopers. Or these are just the helmets, like the different styles and designs. And I was curious if you were to be of a group, what who would you choose, or what would you want to look like? Is it by color, or is it by reputation, or is it by who the Jedi General is?
Well, I'd have to pick the wolf pack.
Ah, that was quick.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect such a fast answer.
Yeah, no, it's I know it's you know me. I'm always on like not the usual, like 212 for the 501st. So there, the wolf pack. Um, had a great general, and yeah, Captain Wolf. It was very cool.
Okay, because the next question I was going to ask everyone is Rex the best clone? Well, I know we're talking clone troopers versus stormtroopers, and we've already established without me even bothering to argue in the beginning is that very likely clone troopers are going to be classed as better than stormtroopers. We all know this. I got the short end of the stick. However, there are some qualities, some positive things for stormtroopers, but it's never going to be the same. But if you had to choose a clone trooper that was your favorite, who would it be? Noddy says yes to Rex. Do you agree, Troy? Is he the best clone, or does someone trump him? I know that you like the Wolfpack.
Uh,
Is
I think he is. I think he was. Yeah, I have to say he's probably the best. Cody, he was great, but he was very regimental. But if you see Bad Batch, you see a different side of him. Wolf, once again, changes as well, without the chip, of course. But it was Rex. I think he fought so hard to against the chip,
true.
like we saw on camera. And he was so loyal. Like he didn't even that the person, that trooper who defected, started a family. He didn't turn him in the end. So he
That's true.
always he
Cut.
always went, okay, let's go down this road. However, it's not black and white all the time.
Got a couple of comments coming through. Nick says the clone who fell out of the gunship with Padme in episode 2 is said to have been Rex before he got promoted to captain of the 501st. You know the
Hmm.
one that looks like he's gone down to save her? Yeah. Uh, Noddy says best clone trooper, but Bobber is the best clone of Django. Not a trooper,
Oh,
but he is a clone, and we are talking about clone troopers, and he is a direct line, and I'd rather have Boba Fett than Omega. Anyway.
what about her
She's
sister?
also not necessarily a trooper, but she is, isn't she?
No,
Really?
no. And then you've got the other one. The what
Emery?
was it? Sorry, what
Emery?
was it? Emery? Yeah, the scientist.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, still Bubba. Hmm.
Nick says Captain Rex himself will be at Melbourne Supernova, being tomorrow. Yes. Uh, Gavin says I wouldn't want to be a trooper at all. Their paper plates are probably better protection. Yeah, there's that. So I'm going to disagree. I think Rex is pretty cool, but I've also never been one who likes the same thing as everyone else. So I'm going to share with you who my favorite is, and this probably comes as no surprise. Who is my favorite? But mine is Fives. I think that Fives, and this is just like his different outfit. I think Fives being the one, just his level of dedication to everyone else, how much he loved everyone, how much he sacrificed, and how smart he was. And he was always there in the middle of everything, willing to give it a go. And he would think, and then he had strategy. And it's just sad. I wish Fives had survived. He's my favorite.
That's why he was an arc trooper, because Rex saw the best in him. So yeah, no, I can't. You know, he is a good trooper. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
he's
the
my
thing about
favorite.
that's the thing about clone troopers. There's many clone troopers that worked they were above and beyond just their role. I can't think of any stormtroopers who would do that. Hmm. Anyway,
No. So that's the thing, isn't it? Because so far we were only able to pull out two stormtroopers of interesting backstories. There's not a lot, and it doesn't even make them great. They both died. Like,
they
there
were
was
both
nothing,
incompetent.
and yeah, there was nothing flash about it. It's just that we know information about them. It doesn't, yeah, it doesn't make you want to be like them.
Hmm.
Some of the questions that I had for everyone while we were chatting, one of them was nicknames for troopers. Did I miss any? So, oh wait, I didn't put the screen up. It helps if I show you what I'm also thinking about. So, Shiny. So we know that Shiny is someone who's new, and then we've got Regs and Bucketheads for stormtroopers. What other nicknames are there? What have I missed? Because I know there are more. While you guys are answering that, I might move on to the next one. Let's look at some of the comments. So we have Timur Musson better come to Perth in June. In fact, I'll ask him when I see him at Celebration. Fair enough. I think that's the thing is that with Celebration is that yeah, he comes to Supernovas. I wonder if the price is different for those who are going to Celebration to see Tamura Morrison. But anyway, Michael says clone troopers had better armor, which is correct. So the understanding is that they did have thicker and stronger armor, and that the stormtroopers did not because they were expendable. Like it didn't matter if we got rid of them. There were so many more of them, and so therefore their armor to save money. It's a lot of cost saving, I suppose, for stormtroopers, but and that is why they were easily damaged because it was thinner. It wasn't going to do the job that you needed. So I was looking at the different troopers. So you've got the shock troopers, which you would see around the place. We've got the jetpack troopers, which is the thing that I think irritated everyone in the sequels. They fly now when everyone flies. Like who doesn't? R2 flies, the Mandalorians fly, the troopers fly. I don't know who doesn't fly. Watto flies, everyone flies. Um, then you've got clone flame troopers, which is kind of cool, but we also see those in the sequels as well, and the Mandos. I just picked this picture just because this is to me one of the best parts of the Clone Wars was when the guys all decided that they were going to honor Ahsoka after she had left the Jedi Order and they wanted her to come back. I just think that I know I'm meant to be arguing in favor of stormtroopers, but that was really moving. And what it
Yeah.
demonstrates to me is how individual the clones ended up being, because that wasn't the plan. The plan was to have them all exactly the same, but they weren't. We know that we had all the different factions. We know that we saw all the different ways that they interacted and the different strategies they had and the different skills that they ended up using and the relationships that they had with their Jedi and with each other. We know they
Yep.
become more human than just a replication of the person they came from.
And if anybody hasn't seen Bad Batch last season, I recommend it because it
Oh yeah,
showed reasons why the Empire went from the clone troopers to stormtroopers. It's very, as you said, they're too independent.
there's there's some comments. Matt says somehow Palpatine flies now.
So does Princess Leia. She flies as well.
Leia, Leia flies, and Gavin says everyone drinks Red Bulls, everyone flies, and Noddy then says my socks almost fly if I don't change them in 3 months. Ew.
Oh, wow. I think
That's
we get
gross.
for that one.
And Jason also answered my question, which was the price is like 200 for print and sign. This is Tamura Morrison. My question in
Oh,
regards to Celebration, or 250 for him and Logan. I've met Logan, but he skipped out on Perth last year. I'll get my bounty. So I'm assuming, Jason, you're going to get them together, which would be kind of cool. Captain Rex will return in Ahsoka season 2. I hope so. Rex is still around. He was around in Rebels. Is he going to be? How old is Rex going to be in Ahsoka season 2? Because
or we
my worry.
get another flashback.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
We
Okay, good point. I forget about flashbacks.
well, that was one of the best parts of Ahsoka, the flashbacks. That was
Well,
awesome.
yeah.
Oh, a nice surprise, I'll say, a nice surprise.
Yeah. The flashback of Anakin and Ahsoka. What? Yeah, because we know that the last clone trooper we saw was in Obi-Wan series. We saw one of the last clone troopers on the streets.
Yeah, he was on the streets, yeah, begging. Yeah.
And so that's a long time ago. And there was also that conversation around, is it Santo? Someone Santo in Return of the Jedi. Nick Santo, one of the rebels who has white hair and a white moustache and looks a little
Yeah.
bit like Rex, was in Return of the Jedi, and there was a lot of question as to whether or not they're the same character. But I
Well,
don't know whether we settled
I,
on that or not.
I don't know if they're supposed to be the same character, but it was confirmed that I read that Rex is still around then.
Cool. Well, it was in Rebels, so yeah. One of the questions I wanted to ask was who do you want as your rebel general? If you could choose someone, who would you want as your general?
Are we talking about not Jedi Knights or rebels?
Clone generals. So you're a clone trooper
Mm-hmm.
and you are going to be assigned a Jedi, or you get to choose which Jedi do you want to be as your general leading you into war?
I pick with the Wolfpack, Plo Koon.
Plo Koon? Oh, I say that's a good choice. Yeah, I'd want Plo Koon. Yeah. That or Anakin. I know Anakin's wild and throws himself into things, but has also got the back of his
Oh yeah,
crew. He's got their back.
yeah,
They
for sure.
survive better than anyone else, I believe.
Yeah, but then I don't want to be killing children afterwards.
Yeah, there's that. Spe- So then Order 66 happens. So speaking of, and suddenly the clone troopers are expendable. We've got, during the Bad Batch, we hear that, we're replacing them with the stormtroopers, and the clone troopers are then going to exterminate all of the Jedi, which kind of goes to one of my arguments, which was why are stormtroopers better? But because they're not associated with the Jedi, that the Jedi are limited. There's only, 2 dozen Jedi. I don't know how many Jedi there are. There's more than 2 dozen because there's like 12 on the council. But, there's limited number of Jedi who will then go with their clones. The clones were created. This is the argument. The clones were created to fight the war from the Separatists. So they had all the droids. We then have all the clones. And then we have the Jedi who are leading them. And boom, we have this war going on. Bang, 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 shoot each other dead. Right? Anyway, so this is happening. The Stormtrooper's role is never going to be to go to war. there's more like a policing role. Clone troopers aren't required anymore because we just need someone who's going to keep order, and we need it on every planet because prior to this, with the clones and the Jedi, we can't just send off the clone troopers. Well, generally we send them with a Jedi, but there's not that many Jedis, but there's tons of planets. You've seen the Senate. There's so many pods in the Senate, hundreds of them. There is not enough Jedi to go and stay on each of those planets to keep order because the Empire wants to keep order. So we don't have clones anymore with the Jedi leading them. Two reasons: because we don't want to associate ourselves with the Jedi because we want everyone to think they're scum because we're about to kill them all with Order 66. We need them to go away. And so we're not going to associate with clone troopers. We now have stormtroopers. They're better. They're Empire. Clone troopers are Jedi. We don't want those. So then we create lots and lots and lots and lots and lots more troopers that there is enough for a garrison on each planet. And then you have control and peace of every planet, not just some of them when you have time to get to it. So that's the
And
advantage of the stormtroopers, is that they could spread out everywhere.
and how well did that go? Return of
Oh,
the
it's
Jedi.
crap, but that was the plan.
So there was supposed to be about 10,000 Jedi at the beginning of the Clone Wars.
Yep.
So my thoughts was that Palpatine started this war to
Get rid of
reduce
them.
reduce because he's not. He knows if he goes to Order 66, and we know some Jedi survive. If he did it right at the beginning, out of that 10,000, you reckon a lot of them going to survive? Yes.
Yeah,
Uh,
he
so
did it well.
he was dwindling the numbers. Now
The long game.
it was the long game, and he also didn't want the corporates, the trade federation, corporate sector, uh, union, techno union, to they had a lot of power. For
Hmm.
example, Naboo, that they had a lot of power, so he wanted to dwindle them as well. So he was playing them against each other.
Yep.
Now the stormtroopers, yes, it's there may be more of them, but it'd be like, oh, I'm going to become a stormtrooper and I'm going to be garrison on my own planet with my own people, and I'm going to protect them until my imperial officer turns to me and says, massacre those people over there because they're doing a picket line, which the stormtroopers were very well known to do massacres. Certain auntie and uncle, for anyway.
No, no, no,
Uh,
no, no. Stormtroopers didn't do that because stormtroopers don't use flames. That wasn't them. That was Boba Fett.
Sorry, so I didn't see a flame trooper in Mando try to burn Grogu and Mando. No, no, I didn't see that. We may not have seen it on the movie, but I'm sure that was
Yeah, it
flame.
was Mando. It was a Mandalorian that did that because Mandalorians are known for burning things. So it was Boba Fett. So he was on Tatooine. So he's then burnt down Luke's hut. Yeah, and killed their uncle and auntie. Yeah.
Chat. Uh, you know the truth to this. You know this. Anyway, uh, so yeah,
You
and
can't argue with a lunatic.
stormtroopers have been in war. Of course, they've been in war. Mimban went for years. Yes, they had the mud troopers, which were more cannon fodder than even stormtroopers, but there were some stormtroopers there
Yep.
as well, and they were practically not white because they were so dirty from the mud.
Yep.
Um, and I would say, if I was a high-ranking imperial officer, I'm going, all right, this war on Mimban has been going on for years. I'm not going to get rid of the shock troopers, stormtroopers. I'm just going to use, the lesser army troopers to do the dirty work, and anybody who's stormtrooper is a bit of a bugger,
Yep.
like they did with Han.
Front line. Off you go.
Front line. So yes, of course, there's wars. When Mon Cala, turned on the Empire, that would have been a war. There's but there's a lot of planets who were at peace with the Empire as well, going, okay, we've got a garrison, but we support the Empire, or we.
Did they though? I don't know if anyone really, really, truly supported the Empire or whether it was strategically and
Huh.
politically done, not because they wanted them there. Maybe let's say, is it up north in Townsville at the moment that there's like kids running amok? Is that where it's happening? It's somewhere in Queensland anyway. There's a spot where we know that they find it really difficult to control the neighborhood and get everyone to do the right thing, or places in America where they have that kind of problem. I would understand wanting to have a garrison and have police present to keep control of what's going on. But the general populace doesn't like us. I know, for example, we see police go up the road. Me and my neighbour, we sit there going, "What's going on there?" Like for me, it's more gossipy, but I'm not really keen on having them there. And I know that when the police are out looking for bike riders, because we have like bush outside, and they turn up on their motorbikes, I personally go, "Oh, yeah, because these guys are really annoying sometimes with their bikes. I don't mind them going in the bush, but don't rev your engine right out front of my house." So sometimes I'm like, yeah, it'd be nice to have police here and make them go away. But other times I'm like, let people be people. Go away, please. I don't need you here. So sometimes it depends on your perspective and where you're at. Is some
Yeah.
people be like, I don't want a garrison. I don't want someone here keeping control. We don't need that. Go away. Don't make me feel as though I've committed a crime.
Well, look at Andor. That's a
Mm,
perfect example of a normal, place where they had a garrison, mainly not stormtroopers, mainly army troopers,
yep,
um, garrisoning that planet. And the only time they would garrison a planet is when the Empire wanted something from that planet, like resources or something else. If if it was just a planet that just nothing, you know, that turned the Empire, the wheels of the Empire, would they really care about that planet?
true.
No, unless they start rebelling, and making noise, too much noise that gets attention from the other planets. They wouldn't care if they, you know, tore each other apart.
No, sad. Nick sent me a picture. I don't know if it's going to work. No, it's not going to work. Let's put it in front of my face. I don't know if you can see it. No, that's not going to work. It's a flame trooper from. Doesn't matter. It won't work. Uh, Incinerated stormtrooper from the Mandalorian is what it is.
Incinerator, that's it. Yeah.
Yes, incinerator. To me, that just sounds like when I went to primary school and that's how they got rid of the rubbish. They put it in the incinerator.
Is that what you're saying about Uncle? Oh my God, that's just seriously. You say they just, yeah,
They
seriously.
incinerated them. They did, but that's what they did with rubbish when I was at school. That's how
That's
they got
what
rid
I'm
of the rubbish.
saying. You call him his aunt and uncle rubbish?
Rubbish.
Oh,
That's not what I said.
well, I know. Owen could have been, it was a bit of a grump, but seriously,
I didn't say that. And Gavin says that he thought it was a barbecue gone wrong. The other thing about clone troopers, which is what we were meant to be talking about, is they have defects. So we know that there's been ones that have defects. So we know of number 99 who had issues, who probably is one in my top 5 favorite clones. He's, just a lovely, wretched clone. and and then also we talking about defects or having a specialized, of course, is you've mentioned them earlier, is the Bad Batch. So we know that they had specialized skills as well,
mm,
but they're not necessarily doing exactly what was meant to be. So the clones were meant to be set up in a certain way, and so did things go well? But then my argument is there were defectors, which is you mentioned Cut LaQuaine earlier. So
yeah.
he defected. He married a Twi'lek, and then they had their children, and you see them in the Bad Batch series. But also stormtroopers defected too. The only one I found clearly evidence of is Tamarin Bakona. He was in the Andor crew. He was a stormtrooper previously, and so he defected. So it's not as though defection is just clones or just stormtroopers. It's clearly something that people go, I don't want to do this Empire stuff anymore.
Well, that clone you mentioned, married the Twi'lek, like every guy who's watched Clone Wars would understand why he defected.
He was the last one left, wasn't he? In
But
the
no, meeting her, you would defect.
oh, She's hot. I get it. Okay. Right. So,
But in where you were going with this, with the defectors and all that, and the you know, class
ah,
with a reject and all that. Yes, of course, you got to break some eggs to make that cake. But then you look at stormtroopers, and there's probably some stormtroopers they've gone, oh, why the hell? Yeah, we'll just sign them up. They'll be cannon fodder. There is the person
mm-hmm.
dumb as dumb. Um, it's sometimes probably they're going, all right, we need to sign up 50 people today, and we've only got a quota of 40. Okay, let's
You,
yeah,
you, and you.
yeah, you and you and you, you know, oh well, we'll just sign them up. We'll get
Yeah.
our quota. So
Yeah. So in that sense, they
it'd be
you get
apples
the
to
good and
pears.
the bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a comment about the incinerator stuff. Gavin says that at their high school in the 80s, there was a large bag of wacky weed found. The cops were called, and it had got thrown into the incinerator. That's so funny. At the school. Oh my
You what
gosh.
you want Owen and Maru were in their hydroponics. Then you know what happened.
Yeah, man. Jason also says Han Solo defected. Yes, I was going to include Han, but I didn't because he didn't really become a stormtrooper. He didn't really get very far before he defected, so I kind of didn't include him. But yeah, did he
Yeah,
though,
he,
or am I
he
wrong?
wanted to be a pilot, and then
He went to the academy and he left, but I don't think he became a stormtrooper.
well, yeah, because he what was it that he was rebellious and didn't follow orders and all that, and then he
Right,
got
right.
demoted down to as a mud trooper or an army trooper, what they called mud troopers in Mimban. But as I said, all the troublesome ones went there. So yeah, it's like either when you look at stormtroopers, for example, you got range troopers, you got shore troopers, uh, even magma troopers.
So,
So
oh, notices Han was too independently minded. Nick says he was a mud trooper. And Dave says that makes sense, Troy, for a scoundrel. Yep, okay. So, how I, I, I wish I knew where my piece of paper that had all my arguments on it went. Anyway, I'm running blind here and on memory. What did we come to a conclusion? Is the stormtrooper better or is the clone trooper better? And I know what Troy's going to say, and I kind of guess what everyone else is going to say, but which is better? Which is superior?
let me
Keep in
catch
mind some of what are our key points?
key points.
Yeah, what are your
Okay.
key points? And I'm going to look for my
Uh,
paper. It's got to be here somewhere.
sorry, I have to one for this one.
I found it.
Okay, clone troopers are generally considered to be significantly better than stormtroopers due to their extensive specialized training from birth, making them far more skilled and adaptable in combat compared to the standard military training received by stormtroopers. I rest my case.
Is that it? That's it?
Well, that was my just one bit. Do I really need a lot more? I know I'm
Not
being
really.
having a bit of fun here.
I
So,
did find I did find a summation, which is the stories of I don't know why it says that, but I copied it from someone. We've got clone troopers, clone droids. The stories of clone troopers and stormtroopers delve into themes of loyalty, identity, and free will. Clone troopers grapple with their programming and the consequences of their loyalty, while stormtroopers often represent the loss of individuality and the suppression of free will within an oppressive regime. I think
mm,
that's a really I really liked whoever wrote that. There's no point me rewriting that in my own words. That's
that,
perfect.
that, that, that's perfect because we were saying
Mm.
about troopers starting off like that until the Jedi generals went, all right, here's your freedom. I think the only Jedi general that really treated them um, you know, like troopers and not like humans was Pog Krell in the Clone Wars. But we know what happened.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Um, yeah,
he's
exactly.
terrible.
I know that. even though that's a good series, my gosh, it's also I want to just yeah. Anyway, with him, but yeah, no, it's definitely yeah, and that's why the emperor went to get rid of them because they were becoming too individual and too questioning everything.
Yeah,
He didn't want
I know.
that. He wanted order.
Oh, we've got a lot of responses. David says go the clones. Jason says phase 1 or 2, but he also says clones. Sorry, Deb, they just look better. Nick says clones. He gives clones a 90, stormtroopers a 60, and First Order a 10. Clearly not a sequel lover of the First Order. And Matt says he likes clones because they're shiny and friendly and they kill stuff better. We know. And Nick says phase 1 clone helmets resemble Django's helmet and the Camino heads. Yeah, I know. I know I was never going to win this argument. We all knew this. There was no way I was going to convince all of you that stormtroopers were better. However, they are more practical. So we already covered that though. That they're cheaper, there's more of them, they're expendable, and they at some point were able to keep some level of order, which is what they were created for. So they were created to do a job and they did it well. It was a shitty job, but they did
But
it
if
well.
you wanted to win a war, you would have clone troopers.
They weren't made for war. They were just made to keep order, and they do that. They keep.
Mm,
You've seen them even in the Clone Wars towards the end of them, or even it might be in the Bad Batch where you see the stormtroopers who just come in and just boss everyone around. That's what they're made for. They do
mm.
it well. Like I don't like them, but they do their job well.
Of course,
Matt
there's
says
still a trooper of yeah.
Matt says you did well, David. I've seen your officer uniform, so I know you have an imperial bias. Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
What you get
I like the
more
clones. I
troopers
do.
around, stormtroopers around.
I say to everyone that if you haven't watched the Clone Wars animation series, you need to because it's the
Yeah,
stories are fantastic. The characters, like for example, I love Fives. Fives is one of my favorite characters, and you won't know about anything to do with that particular character if you haven't watched the Clone Wars series. And it keeps you going for real. Like at first, if you haven't ever seen it, it's overwhelming because there's a lot of content, but it's worth it.
and my recommendation with the Clone Wars is watch it in chronological order too. It's
Oh, not the order of season one, 1, 2, 3, 4 episode. Do it in the chronological, which is different, and you can find that online if you Google it. It's
yeah,
available.
easy. And in saying that, if you want something a bit more modern with stormtroopers and to see how silly they are, watch Rebels.
It's true. I like Rebels too. Jason says making the costume TK is easier. Clone armor is so hard, but I'm making my Kashyyyk trooper now. Interesting.
Mm.
Gavin says stormtroopers couldn't keep an order in a cafeteria.
Yeah,
Wow.
they were in the cantina. They were just across. There was Obi-Wan and Luke sitting there. They walk across and they've disappeared already. Now, like seriously, they lost an old man and a farm boy in about 2 seconds. What's up
You
with them?
know, I have to share something. It's got nothing to do with any of this, but you mentioned the old man and a farm boy. There's we talked. Oh, I mentioned earlier that in the book about the TK-421 and the story about him with the Imperial officer, in that same book, it talks about other short stories, and one of them is from the point of view of one of the musicians. Oh no, it was Muftak. I think it was from Muftak's.
Oh,
The white furry thing.
the
Uh, yeah, the
Palton.
towels. Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's from
Mufta.
his point of view. So there was originally Tales from the Cantina, and this was a Legends book. So now, from a certain point of view, is the canon, well, sort of canonized, meant to be. It's created now version of the short stories, and in it, it has from his point of view. And at one point, I'm pretty sure it's from the Tales story. It says, "And in walked an old hermit and a teenage girl." I was like, "What?" It's like he doesn't know it's a boy. That's so funny.
It was the long hair.
Yeah, and it talked about because then it said and his golden friend, which was the droid. I was like, what? Yeah, like people have different perspectives on what things are. It was kind of funny, but anyway,
Oh,
I was going to do our infamous AI guessing competition, so I thought I'll just put it to you, Troy, because we're actually run out of time. We've gone way over, but I
yeah.
just wanted to throw it in here towards the end anyway. So guess the AI search. So what I've done today is it's a character. There's going to be two different characters and then two
Yep.
different job titles. Can you guess what they are? And everyone who's watching online, feel free to jump in and guess before Troy if he can't work it out, and let's see how quick we can go.
Oh
So,
boy.
what is the character and what is the job description?
Okay, that's American
It's
football.
not it's not a specific name of a character. It's a type of character.
Okay. Snow Trooper.
Yeah, clone trooper.
That's no, I said Snow Trooper.
Oh no! Whoops, sorry, gave it away. No, it's not dodgeball. Jason said dodgeball. Gavin says
Guys,
Luke was supposed to be female. Hmm. Jason says Disney ice capades. It does look like ice. I'm sorry, when I AI pictured got this picture, I went, is that a hockey field?
it looks like a hockey field with American football, like they're in a stadium. Uh,
And it's and Nick or NRL's close. I'll accept NRL. Yeah, it is. It's clone troopers playing football. There you go. You're welcome. So the next one, what have I got here? Michael says clown ball. Sorry, I'm going back to look at it. Clown ball. Yeah, Noddy, it does. It looks like an ice rink. So what do we got in this next picture? What do you reckon is, Troy? And anyone else who wants to jump in? And I'm sorry, where his hand is just looks really weird. Not the one holding the gun.
yeah, I know that's right away.
It's like, what are you doing? What's this guy? What kind of? I think it's obvious what the kind of character it is, but
Well,
what's its job?
well, the box next to him on the left hand side looks similar to the droid from Andor.
Oh, it does. Like
Like not colors, but
B2 ME or something.
yeah, like he's type. Um,
Yeah.
okay, there's a
Dave
what
says
a
he's Dave says that this guy's chafing.
we'll have to ask Andre. He'll know about chafing. So this is TV.
Anyone want to tag Andre so that he watches his video later?
Yeah, let's not. I'm going to Japan with him. He might throw me out of the plane. Um,
Oh
but
gosh.
we got a TV. I can see there. Um, him pointing at himself. I don't know. Um, Dawn,
Noddy's pointed out something interesting. Shoulder to hip width ratio says female. There's your female trooper that I was looking for.
there we go. Thanks, Noddy. Um,
Still could be chafing.
Still probably chafing. Yeah, or he could be a bit short for a stormtrooper too. Uh,
We've got some comments coming in. CRL football, clone NRL in Las Vegas. Well, NRL is in Las Vegas at this time, which is what influenced me to do the football thing. But this one isn't. What's this one's job? It's a job.
Security officer.
No.
No, guys,
Anyone else?
anything?
Anyone else while we're thinking? I'll leave you guys to think about it for a second and I'll show you some other things I want to talk about. Don't forget that we have merchandise. So we have the coins. We still have some of those. Gavin says, is the trooper gaming? Kind of close, Gavin. We also have shirts. It's not a patrol trooper, no. And we also have some merchandise through Redbubble. So you can get uh, tote bags, mugs, um, what are them things you put your cup on? Coasters.
Yeah.
What are those things you put your cup on? Magnets, stickers, t-shirts, hoodies, you name it. If you can get it with merchandise on it, yeah, like there you go, like a coaster. You can get them from Redbubble and you can have a Star Walking one. You can support the group. Woo! Do we have XL shirts in yet? Good question, Jason. Troy, remind me to follow up on that later. Or Nick, you have my messenger. Send me a message and remind me so I do that because I will follow that up and find out. All right, we still don't have. We've got Clone playing video games. Nope, close, but no prize for you. What else have we got while I'm here? Oh, that's it. Where we're up to. Let's go back to the image. What is this? What's his job? What do you think he's doing? Remember, it's AI, so it's not going to be right.
I keep on thinking like an airport or a train station, and he's the guard.
That's a good point. It does look a little bit like he's at customs, doesn't he?
Yeah, yeah,
He's
like
like,
he's ticket, please.
yeah, and he's got his gun there going because otherwise I'll shoot you. And then he's got the terminal next to him so he can put in the information. However, I put to you, it's not his terminal. Does that help?
Oh, not his tunnel.
No banners, no flags from Redbubble, no. To Gavin. Noddy, it's not a point guard. He's not guarding anything. Remember, it's my AI, so it's going to be something stupid, and this is its interpretation of what I asked it to put in.
Is he the
It's a
one trying to get through customs?
no, and it's not customs. But customs does use this person as to help them with their work if needed. In fact, most workplaces would use this person's role
Yep.
sometimes, particularly in modern days. When
Security.
something goes wrong, you might need this person.
Oh, an IT.
Yes,
An IT
that
guy. Right.
is AI's interpretation of a stormtrooper working in IT. I love our AI. It is fantastic. It is dumb. And I can't help myself. We have to do it every time just because it just astounds me the interpretation of what AI thinks things are. We had some Jason said video chief editor of a spaceport. That's close enough. That's pretty good, Jason. I think that's good. And Nick said clone sports security. And
IT.
then Jason's OMG. Like seriously, that's IT.
Exactly. Why do you think I went like this? Because I'm thinking, how do you get IT out of that? Because there's a computer screen. But
I just makes me laugh. It's like worst joke Wednesday. I feel like I should put it up on a regular post on our Star Walking page and go, what do you guys reckon this is? And see whether or not anyone can guess it. Maybe we could do that. You guys aren't allowed though, because you already know what it is.
I was going to say, if you do a new one, you got to make it from AI. No one's going to guess it.
Nah, too hard. They're so weird. He uses the gun to make the computer obey him. Yeah, right. Like he's using if you go back to the image, he's using the gun and pointing like it's on the keyboard, like the gun. Like, what?
Yeah,
Makes
yeah.
no sense.
If my IT guy comes to me like that, I will not be complaining about my computer.
No, you'd be like, it's all right, mate. I can work it out. It's all good.
You want me
I'll
to
just
fix
turn it off and
stuff?
on again.
Your computer's fixed now.
Yeah.
And,
Oh my
and
gosh.
also, while I'm here, do you know anything about chafing?
You know, you can buy some creams and powders.
I can't get out of my head who said about the chafing.
Oh my gosh. Don't use that finger to point something out. Be like, see this here?
Uh,
Oh my gosh, you guys are funny. Thank you so much, and everyone who's joined us, and thank you, Troy. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
This has been a
Well,
lot of fun.
thank you for having me again.
We couldn't prove that stormtroopers were better, but we at least have maybe a little bit of respect for them. It's a bit teeny bitty. At least, you know, I don't know. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Jason said we can go all night with that. May this Swartz be with you all and with you, Matthew. All right. Anyway, guys, it's been a pleasure. Can't wait to talk to you all again next month. May the force be with you.
Bye.